Today we're going to take an opportunity here to talk about a group of people that historically have been probably the most important people in all societies, even from ancient times to modern times. And here in our society, in modern times, over the last 50 years, arguably have become one of the most maligned groups of people in our society. And we're going to talk about that here in just a minute. Hey, this is Mike, America's Blind Tradesman and the national spokesperson for the Million Job Movement. And I'd like to talk about a very maligned group of people. And let's talk about it historically, though. Historically, the great accomplishments in all the great societies that have ever been were not because of the generals or the kings and queens or the emperors and the dictators and the conquerors. The only reason they were successful is for one very good reason. They had the support of the common man. And when I say common man, I'm not talking about gender, I'm talking about humanity. The common man. And because of that support, they were able to accomplish a lot with the common people backing them. And they basically break down into three groups of people. One is the artisans, the talented tradespeople who built those societies, the farmers who fed those societies, and the soldiers who then had to protect those societies from other marauding bands of barbarians who were envious of what that society had accomplished, and they had to protect it from that. And it's true to this day. It's those tradespeople, it's those artisans, it's those farmers, and it's those soldiers, those people who work with their hands, their head, and their hearts, and are passionate about what they do. And without them, no great society would have ever been built. And even a mediocre society needs them. They're very important to the structure. They're the ones who build it, and they're also the ones who maintain it and keep it going and make it possible for it to grow in size. However, in recent years, I've seen a very disturbing trend, and the great Mike Rowe from Dirtiest Jobs, the cable television show, has talked about this quite eloquently, that it's been a trend to basically bash these people and malign these people, and I'll talk a little bit more about that here in a second. But when you think about it, from my own personal experience, I've noticed that the tradespeople and those salt-of-the-earth people have been, well, back in the 1930s and 40s and into the early 50s, they were the subject of a lot of comedy on radio shows. When somebody showed up to do a job or repair or something, they were a little bit difficult to deal with. They showed up on their own schedule. They were overpriced. They charged too much. They were, it was hard to get a hold of one of them when you needed one of them, and there was a lot of comedy built around that. But it began to take an ugly turn in the 1960s and in the 70s for sure, when with Hollywood and television, where the tradespeople and these people who came to render general services began to be belittled. They were portrayed as not very intelligent, lazy, not very cooperative, not trustworthy. I mean, down to even things like, the common jokes about they'd always show their butt crack because they were unkempt and sloppy people, but you needed them, but they were not a fun person to deal with. And maybe some of that was deservedly so. I had my moments in the years dealing with people where some people just rubbed me the wrong way, and I could become uncooperative if I had to. But it's not usually the trend of the trade to be that way. And then, of course, the final nail was put in the coffin back in the mid-70s, and this is what Mike Rowe talked about so eloquently. There was this poster, and the poster appeared in the guidance counselor office in every high school across America. And it was a young man in a cap and gown, all properly coiffed, holding a rolled-up sheepskin and a diploma in his hand. And there was another young gentleman there wearing coveralls, all grubby and dirty, holding a wrench. And the caption underneath said, "Work smart, not hard." And that was the beginning of the real bashing of the trades, where college was a preferred place to go, and you could be successful, but that would be working smart versus working hard to get ahead. And of course, nothing could be further from the truth about working hard versus working smart. You need to do both. And it doesn't matter whether you choose the college path or you choose a path in one of the hands-on trades, that you're going to have to do both. You don't succeed. There is no such thing as working smart and not working hard also. Matter of fact, the people who work smart also do work hard. They work hard at their craft or their trade or their industry or their whatever their chosen career path is, because that's how you get ahead. There's a reason why some people get paid $1 million a year and other people get paid minimum wage. In the eyes of God, we're all equal. But however, some people just made themselves more valuable to the marketplace by the continuing growing of their skills. And you know what? Most successful people that I've known work harder on themselves than they do on their business. And because that's where the real growth comes from. So this poster got circulated all over the United States, making college look like the great plum, and anybody in the trades was just somehow or another some subhuman creature that we tolerated. And the truth is, those are the people who built our great society and created this great behemoth that we call the economic engine that we call the great American dream. Those are the people who built that and keep it running and keep the infrastructure in place so that people can go to college and still have food on the table and still be protected by soldiers and police officers and all those people who protect us. So again, you know, it isn't the great emperors, it isn't the great generals, it isn't the kings and queens and conquerors. That's not what built our great societies. It was because their vision for what they were hoping to accomplish had the support of the common man. And to support that theme, there's a great piece of music called Fanfare for the Common Man, and probably by its name most people wouldn't recognize it, but I dare say most of you out there have heard it at least 1,000 times. They've used it for years as background music in documentaries and news programs and historical programs. Walter Cronkite used it in the 50s in a show he had called You Were There, which was historical reenactments, famous dates and times in history with famous people. It was a piece created by Aaron Copland, the producer, in 1943. The United States government in the middle of World War II began to realize that it was those people who marched around the world to fight fascism and the imperialism of the in the Pacific war, theater of war. They were the common man, and they needed to be recognized for their greatness. So the government held a contest, and there were 16 entries, and Aaron Copland's piece called Fanfare for the Common Man was the winner. And it's a very, very moving piece of music. It's very stirring, and it does recognize the fact that the common man does all the heavy lifting in our society. When those 100,000 people hit the beaches of Normandy in June of 1944, the generals can sit there and draw all the pretty lines on maps and make-believe ships and move them around and everything else on their global maps. They mean nothing without the effort and where the rubber meets the road, where the common man was engaged. The same thing in the Pacific theater of war with the battles of Okinawa and Midway and Guadalcanal and all. Again, it was the common man who did the lifting. And those of you in the trades, we have a noble calling. We are the people who built our society, and we are the people who keep it running. And the way we do that is every day we go to work, and all we want is our slice of the great American dream. And while we're doing that for ourselves, we're securing that for others who have other types of professions. So it's with great pride I've always am proud to say I am a common man. I've worked in the trades. I'm proud of what I've accomplished in the trades, and I would hope all of you would feel the same. Help me with the Million Job Movement. Help me locate 1 million Americans to move them toward the realization that a high-paying, rewarding career in the trades might be something that they would want to do. And the way you do that is you can go on over to millionjobmovement.com. And while you're there, why don't you join my crew? Get on my newsletter so I can keep you up to date monthly how we're accomplishing our goal, and just maybe you can be one of those agents of change, because you'll run into somebody that you might might just see some of the stuff we're saying really would apply to them. You know, college is not necessarily the only career path for success in our society, and actually it's not the career path for success for most people in our societies. Over here in a second, we'll pop a little button and you could subscribe to my YouTube channel, America's Blind Tradesman, and we'd appreciate you do that for us and help us out there. And if you like what we're saying, then just give us a like or leave a comment. We're always glad to get those. And as always, stay safe, stay productive, and let's make America skilled again. Take care.